Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast. My name is Eric Thomas, and I am the host of this show. Today, we are joined by Chad Peterman from Peterman Brothers. Chad, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.
Absolutely. So, Chad, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners out there and tell them a little bit more about the company.
Yeah, so my name's Chad Peterman. I'm the president of Peterman Brothers here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are full service. We do heating, plumbing, and electrical service. Primarily, when I say primarily, probably 95% residential service repair and replacement. Company was started in 1986 as Peterman Heating and Cooling by my father. Who is still in the business, but probably semi-retired, I guess you would put it. Myself and then my brother, who is 3 years younger than me, now currently run the company and have pretty much had the reins since 2015. Just steadily grown the company. We have our primary location in Indy. We also have locations in central Indiana, in Lafayette, Indiana, Muncie, Indiana, Columbus, Indiana, and Bloomington, Indiana.
Nice. So y'all pretty spread out across that state.
Yeah. Our locations are about from door to door. We're on the south side of Indy. So door to door to our two northern locations, we're about an hour and 10 minutes. To our two southern, we're about an hour.
Nice. So when you and your brother, when you all kind of took over in 2015, what were some of the changes that you all, I guess, brought into the company to try to grow it?
Yeah, so in 2015, we had joined the company prior. I joined officially in a full-time capacity in 2011. My brother joined in 2013, but 15 was really the year we kind of took over the day-to-day operation. So in 15, we had about 40 people on the team. We did primarily new construction. So we were doing probably 70% new construction in the multifamily space. And in 15, we joined an organization called Nexstar and really made a commitment to growing our residential service replacement and repair business. And from that point forward, we have used their guidance along with a number of peers in the industry who have so graciously helped us get to where we are. To where we stand today, we have a little over 300 members on the team and are 95% residential repair and replace.
Yeah. So it's actually funny. I remember I recently recorded with Julian Scadden from Nexstar, and you were a referral to be on the show from him. So Julian, if you're listening, thank you. This is how we got Chad on the show. So I know Julian's out there listening. He said he listens to all of them, so I'm sure he'll hear that. So how much new construction do you all still do, if any at all?
So we'll do, it's actually, my dad's semi-retired. Those are his kind of projects. We don't really do any new construction. It's more in the rehab space. Mm-hmm. And that's all still multifamily. So we'll do a couple projects a year. Like I said, it accounts for probably 5% to maybe even a little bit less than that of our total business.
Yeah. So do you all do any commercial at all? It's just residential?
Nope. No commercial. We've actually, over the last really year, kind of fired our commercial clients that are still, you could still consider them residential.
Yeah.
I feel like most residential people say, well, we do commercial up to 10 tons or something like that. We've actually just made a commitment to not doing any of it. So really the only commercial we do is those big projects.
Nice. So you guys are at over 300 employees. And I've actually read, I'm not sure if I read this somewhere or if I was listening to another podcast where you were talking about your in-house, the training program. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit on this episode, because it seems like a recurring challenge we continue to hear from listeners of the show or even podcast guests of the show is finding talent and training them and then keeping them on the team. So really, so when you grew from 40 people to over 300 people, like what helped or what helped aided in that growth?
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of our in-house training. So as we continue to grow, obviously, as you probably hear from a lot of your guests, and it's pretty common out in the industry, is finding people is a challenge. And what I was always searching for was there's got to be a solution to this. Like, we're not the only industry that has trouble, finding great people. And so what I came to the conclusion is that there isn't a lack of people out there. There's plenty of people. There's a lack of people currently in the trades. That I'll agree with. However, what prevents us from going outside the trade and bringing great people into what we know to be a really awesome space? And so in October, we're really like June of 2020, we reached out to a few of my mentors and who had in-house schools at their companies. We learned as much as we humanly possibly could, and then we embarked on the endeavor of creating our own in-house school. So in October 5th of 2020 was the first day of class in our first class of what we call our Peterman Top Tech Academy. We created this school. It's about a 3-month. We've changed up the schedule a little bit. For our newest class will start end of August, but they're about a 3-month program to get them trained in either plumbing or heating. And then they're able to go out in the field and be productive technicians for us. It was an undertaking. I don't know that we've ever done a project that big, just as far as an internal project. But what we found was that we were able to find a lot of great people. And that is not to say that there aren't great people already in the trades. It's just we need more of them. And so we really stepped outside of our comfort zone. We had EMTs and sheriffs and factory workers, and you name it, of a background. We had them join our first class. And currently, a lot of them are out there as terrific technicians, which is awesome. We had our second class start in February. We took a break for the summer because that's our busiest time. And then we'll start up our third class at the end of August.
Wow. So what were some of the things that you learned from the first class that helped you shape the program going into the second semester or class and even and beyond?
Yeah, a lot. So you got to think too, starting in October, we were like starting right in the middle of kind of that second wave of COVID. Mm-hmm. So you had like the initial one, then you went through the summer, and then that second wave hit, where I know at least for us as a company, we were kind of hit by it. In that second one, that was the, hey, I hung out with Aunt Nancy. Aunt Nancy tested positive. I'm not sure if I have it or not, kind of deal. So that made it really challenging. So some of the schooling was on Zoom. I'd say one of the things that we picked up that I continually tell people about, and they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. And I was like, well, it's kind of born out of COVID. We were looking for things for them to do because we really couldn't put them on as many ride-alongs as we would have liked, because we were trying to keep 2 guys out of 1 truck and so on and so forth. And so we had them, all of the new trucks that we had coming in, plus their trucks, we had them stock all of them as a way to get familiar with the parts and supplies that they would be dealing with on a daily basis. And the students really loved it because they were like, oh my God, this is, looking back, they're like, that made my life so much easier because that was one less thing I had to figure out when I was already a little bit nervous of going in front of the customer for the first time. So that is something we picked up. That is something we continue to do in all of the classes. I would say another thing was, is too much information can be a bad thing. Our first class, we tried to teach them literally like everything under the sun about heating and cooling and about plumbing. And what we found was these individuals had joined the program because they wanted to be out in the field. They wanted to touch things. They wanted to talk to customers. They wanted to do all this. And our reliance on trying to teach them everything kept them in a classroom and kept them in a lab where they couldn't do the thing that they signed up to do. And so what we've done is we have recently modified the schedule to where they'll actually spend just 8 weeks in the class, and then they'll go out on their own, still reporting back to our in-house trainer, and still coming into the classroom maybe once, twice a week kind of recap calls and find out where they're struggling and go over that. And then they may, and then they'll come back, depending on their skill level, they'll come back in for another 4 weeks of more so troubleshooting and different types of, more advanced training. So those are two big things that I can think of off the top of my head. We've done a lot of things wrong. Setting expectation is one that we screwed up early on, because you want to present this like rosy picture, but at the same time, like if you're just getting into something, it's not all roses at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like there's some crappy days, there's some this, that, and the other. So we've really tried to be real and upfront with candidates from both a job expectations and job expectations piece, and then also the financial piece too. Because while we're paying these students while they're in training, a lot of them are taking a pay decrease to join the school with the hopes of obviously joining a career that can pay them far more. But there is that 3 to 4 month span where your income is going to be affected for sure.
Yeah. So after they do the 8 weeks and they get out into the field, do they really begin in more of like a maintenance technician capacity where they're just doing like tune-ups, or is it they go straight to service and repair?
Yeah. So what I can tell you is, yes, they do go into maintenance. However, I will tell you that they advance into service far faster than your typical guy. You get off the street, you throw him with Johnny in a truck. Hey, learn maintenance. He does maintenance for a couple months, and then he's nowhere near ready service. These students, we've been able to run them through the program, put them into maintenance for about a season and a half. And then they're ready to start getting some, not the hardest call you got, but, some very introductory service calls to where they're really excelling. On the plumbing side, same thing. With Indiana's licensing requirements, it's a little bit trickier, whereas there are no licensing requirements on the HVAC side for technicians, at least. On the plumbing side, they are mainly running drain calls. They're running plumbing maintenance inspections to where they're looking over plumbing systems, not doing a whole ton of work unless they have a licensed guy there with them. And sometimes they'll sell work and then they'll go back with a licensed guy and they'll put it in. And so they're getting that experience as well.
So what are some of those challenges for licensing for plumbing? I know it's different state to state. I don't think I've ever heard what Indiana's is like.
Yeah, so it's kind of wonky. The biggest thing is so when our students graduate, they are not technically licensed plumbers in the state of Indiana. So in order to become a licensed plumber, you have to go through 4 years of schooling along with on-job training hours as well. So what we try to do is we try to set these students up to where, one, they've already got a jump start when school starts because we've taught them a lot of stuff. They're not just joining at green. So that will be a positive. So we actually haven't had any students start yet because it starts on a calendar year. So they'll start here, I believe, next month in August. They'll start actual plumbing school in pursuit of their license. That's a little bit of a challenge, mainly for the timeline, like telling somebody, hey, you graduated, but hey, you're not technically a licensed plumber for another 4 years. Yeah. That can get it's a hurdle that you just have to overcome with expectation. And hey, you can still make really good money doing X, Y, and Z related to plumbing, but you just can't do these things because you're not technically licensed is our biggest thing.
Yeah. So you said that you guys have gone from 40 employees to 300. Does that 300 include candidates in the school as well?
Yeah. So we have about, like, our next class will be about 15 students. So okay. We'll go from around 300 to 315 overnight. Those will be in addition to our current staff. Everybody else right now at this point is out in the field, either producing or in a support role. And then we'll bring on those new students here in about a month's time.
Nice. So outside of like the technical aspect of the trade, what are some of the things that you guys also teach them, like in regards to like customer service and, being a nice person?
Yeah. Yeah. So the cool part about it is we get to recruit a lot of nice people. And whereas before, or as many people probably listening can attest, there's always been those times where you're sitting across from a guy and he's a little bit sketchy, but he's also got 5 years of experience. So, and I need a technician and they're not growing on trees. So what do I do? Well, you usually take a flyer on him. He pollutes the culture of your company, and then 6 to 8 months later, you let him go, or he leaves for 50 cents more on the hour, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. So in this instance, we can totally throw out the technical piece of things. So we know that they don't have any experience, which makes recruiting a little bit easier. So the thing that it really gives us is it gives us the ability to recruit kind of a different candidate, and really open up our lens to, who's available, which is nice. In addition to that, once we get the right people in, then teaching them the customer service piece, we teach them the Nexstar service system, which plays a huge role. And really what we want to do in the school, the whole mission of it is not to teach you how to be a technician. I would be foolish to say I can teach someone how to be a technician in 3 months. There's way too much information. They're complicated piece of equipment. Plumbing is a complicated trade. Some of the best plumbers, they will tell you, you can't teach someone how to do that. So our real job, and what I relay to our trainers all the time, is I want them to be very, very comfortable either with a plumbing system or in front of an HVAC system. And by comfortable, I want them to know, how a system operates. I want them to know how to do a proper tune-up, or on the plumbing side, a proper plumbing inspection. And then I want them to know the service system inside and out. So being Nexstar members, we live and die by the service system. That is what we preach, teach, and we want our guys to follow, because at the end of the day, as Nexstar says, you provide good customer service, the revenue will follow. And so that is what we preach to all our guys, in relation to, or in addition to the technical ability. It's more so how to build trust with the customer. How do we build trust? How do we properly inspect a heating or plumbing system in order to provide our professional opinion to that customer, so that they can make the best decision for their home?
Yeah. And also with, obviously the revenue will follow it, but also will other things like Google reviews, word of mouth referrals, and all that other stuff, which obviously can lead to more revenue. And I noticed on, I think it was your Google My Business page for your Indy office, you guys had like 3,000 reviews or something crazy like that. So has that large amount of reviews, has that come in really since the school started, or has that been something that you guys have just been building over time?
Yeah, so I would say that kind of a two-pronged answer here. So yes, I would say that our students coming out of Top Tech we teach them the review process, and they understand the importance of it. For lack of a better term, they've never had the chance to develop any bad habits of not asking for a review. So that makes it a little bit easier. The other piece that I would say that I think can be beneficial for your audience is that we were really bad at getting reviews for a really long time. And what it came down to was we just weren't tracking it. We weren't looking at it every single day. So as part of we do a daily huddle every morning at 9:15 to go over yesterday's numbers and to go over kind of what the day looks like today. And I can tell you that our second to last person that presents is our membership coordinator. Lauren is her name. And she reports on every department at every location and what their she reports on the memberships, which is a huge part. But then as it relates to reviews, the other Lauren, so we have two, we actually have like five, but the two responsible for this, the other one reports on reviews, and she reports reviews out by department for each location. So if your location and or your technicians are not getting any reviews, like that's something we're bringing up to branch managers. That's something we're bringing up to service managers. Hey, Johnny, our software allows us to see how many requests they've actually sent. If they're not getting any reviews, well, then we're pulling them in. We're calling them on the phone going, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you asking for this? This is part of our process. And so I think anybody can increase their reviews dramatically if it's something you monitor, watch, set goals for, and really have people that are engaged with the importance of it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just the thing. Like half the challenge is just asking. I know, there's companies out there doing between 1 and 10 million a year. And, in that 1 to 10 million, they're probably seeing over 1,000 homeowners a year, even maybe more. And if they even asked half of them for a review and got that review, they would have way more than, 14 Google reviews. So it's obvious that, a lot of times people are just not asking for the review.
Oh, it's 100% the thing. I mean, we give our technicians, I think we run through, we've run through a couple of different, we've built some softwares on top of it, but primarily Podium is what we use to push out the review from technician to customer. And I can tell you that even sending a review request is not effective unless the technician talks about it. And I can tell you this by the fact that we send out hundreds of review requests and we don't get hundreds of reviews a day. We have a lot of technicians still pushing them out, but not ever saying anything to the customer. So the customer has no idea how important it is to the business to take the 3 minutes to leave a review.
Yeah. And reviews also go a long way for like SEO purposes and stuff as well, because now like on Google, when you go to leave a review, it asks you before you start typing, like what service did they provide you? And you can say like AC repair or AC replacement or whatever it may be. And you leave your review. And I've seen Google My Business pages rank higher just because of reviews alone. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the, we kind of use that as the ancillary benefit to the fact of, we try to preach to our technicians that, a positive review, while it's good for the business, that's fantastic. It's also a validation of your service level. So if they are going to take 3 minutes to write you a review, Johnny did a great job, he's awesome, call them. If they did that, like they really enjoyed your service, as opposed to collecting your money, walking out the door, crossing your fingers and hoping they had a good experience. Most people won't tell you if they had a bad one. It's even more difficult to get them to tell you that they had a great one.
Yeah. And I don't remember who I was recording a podcast with, but I was interviewing someone about reviews one time. And he said that he tells his technicians, like, my goal here is to build you up to the point where you're either, a leader within this organization, or you feel, confident enough to go, maybe start your own business one day. And reviews, while you can't take the Google review with you, you can use that as, evidence. Like it's clearly written out, like Johnny did a great job. Johnny was awesome. And you can still use those to benefit, your own career as a technician.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you also have a podcast. I had this written down as something to talk to you about. So the podcast, tell us a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah. So we started the podcast, I believe in 2018, maybe. It was first designed to every other Friday. I have a class. I actually have one this Friday that I teach on leadership. So it's 6 a.m. I like to get up early, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. before work starts. And anybody on our staff can come in and listen. So I speak in our training room, and we would take that recording and we would put it on the podcast. And we put it on the podcast format just because that was, 2/3 of our workforce is out in a van all day long by themselves. There isn't much easier way to listen to content than if it's in podcast form. So that was the initial intent. As it kind of caught the attention of a lot of people, like, outside the industry, say, hey, oh yeah, listen to your podcast. Oh yeah. And you kind of, my wheels started turning as to, okay, well, we can make this maybe something a little bit even better. We're always looking to improve things. So recently, as of probably 2-3 months ago, this was more probably a personal fear of mine, was interviewing somebody. So being interviewed, not that hard. Interviewing, I feel like, is a little bit harder. I'm starting to get my legs underneath me. But so we bring on, every other week, we bring on a guest and interview them about leadership. And so on the off weeks, it's me talking in our training. We just post that. But then we've brought on some really cool guests. You mentioned Julian earlier. I had him on a couple of weeks ago. A lot of cool people within the industry that I think bring a lot of value, and they have a lot of experience, growing really, really successful companies and getting their take on leadership, its role, and how it's transformed their companies. I can tell you that it has taught me so much. I mean, I have pages and pages of notes from people that I've interviewed where I didn't say anything special. It was just kind of giving them the platform to just share their story. And you always pick up a nugget or two from what they're saying that you can implement in your own business.
Oh, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said that you get, 1 or 2 nuggets out of each one that you can just apply, because I think we're on probably 54, 55 episodes of this now where we're interviewing contractors and business owners, and just usually we're talking more about marketing. And we've heard from several listeners now who we didn't even know were listeners, that were just like, hey, that one episode, I heard him say this, and I went and did that on my Facebook page, and, it helped me so much. And even in our business where we're helping contractors with marketing, it helps us too, because, every once in a while I'll learn something that I had no clue about, and then I can turn around and use that as well. And so I think that's definitely the hidden value in these interview style podcasts. While I will agree, it is a little challenging at first interviewing people.
Yeah, no doubt. It definitely get more comfortable as you go. I think the key is, and kind of what we teach our technicians, is the best thing to do is just kind of shut up and just let them talk, because that's what you're on for. And it's actually a little bit easier than, me talking for an hour straight. I just get to ask a question here or there and let them go.
Yeah. That's something I learned. Probably took me 15 or 16 episodes to finally learn that, just to ask a question and then just shut up. And that's why a lot of times now I've gotten really bad at first about speaking over someone on accident, because I thought they were done. So now I'll stop and I'll wait until there's almost like an awkward silence, and then I'll, try to go to my next point. Yeah. So, this has been an awesome episode, Chad. I really appreciate it. If there was someone out there listening right now who was, running a smaller HVAC company, 1 to 10 people or so, what's some advice that you would give them to help, attract, hire, and retain better quality technicians for their business?
Yeah, I would say that the one thing that I would tell you, it's a very simple recipe that has worked for us, and that's care. Genuinely care about the people that are on your team and really work to develop them. You show that you care by your willingness to develop them, but if you can develop the people on your team and show them day in and day out that you truly care, what's going to happen is they're going to grow. And what I have found out is that when people grow, your company grows as a result. So if you are looking to grow and looking to expand your company, what I can tell you is first look at the people that you got on your team. Make sure you got the right people and make sure you got them in the right seat. And then spend every waking moment trying to develop, in, as I told you earlier, the training and so on and so forth that is going to lift these people on your team from one level to the next, and ultimately lift your company from one level to the next.
Awesome. Well, Chad, I appreciate that. I appreciate you joining me on the show today. We did have a couple comments here. None of them are questions. Paul said, hey, and Austin dropped a link to the HVAC school, the Top Tech Academy. So if you guys want, and you're listening to this later on your preferred podcasting platform, we will include links to that as well so that you can check it out and learn more about it. Chad, what's a great way for someone to get in touch with you or learn more about Peterman Brothers?
Yeah. So I would say best way to get in touch with me, always connecting on there, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's going to be Chad M. Peterman. You can find me there. Feel free to reach out, and more than happy to chat and figure that out. Our website is petermanhvac.com, and you can check out Top Tech at petermantoptech.com.
Awesome. Well, Chad, I appreciate you joining me on the show today. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Eric. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.